Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. I'm here with Kenny Albert and Ala Abdelnaby, talking a little bit of everything. Let's talk some hockey. I'm not a big NHL guy, but I'll tell you, last year I had a stand-up gig in Chicago, played an amazing place called Park West. I was with Danny. And while the Stanley Cup was going on, so the Blackhawks obviously kicking ass last year. They're going to be – Patrick Kane just got hurt.
Yep.
What's hockey looking like? Are the Rangers going to make the playoffs? That's how little I know. I don't follow it at all.
Looks like they will. There's 9 games left. They're in second place in their division. Big win, like I said tonight. They honored Henrik Lundqvist before the game, who's the goalie, the king.
They did. That's great.
Who set franchise records.
You follow hockey, Al?
A little bit. He's the only jersey I have, 30.
Is that right?
Yeah. I enjoy him very much.
You remember Eddie Jacobin and Mike Richter?
Jacobin. I love that.
He was there tonight for the
and
ceremony.
Rick, that reminds me of your dad, Jacobin, yeah.
Lundqvist broke the team records for wins and shutouts. He was honored before the game. But some of the other teams you mentioned, the Bruins are probably the best team in the East right now. They might be the best team in the league. The West is stacked. Blackhawks, St. Louis, the 3 teams in California. So the playoffs should be great.
I'll tell you, Chicago, you think of as, a Cub Town Bears, but being there last year,
it's tremendous.
Man, they were walking back from the game and they lost. There was a game, they lost. It was at the game 6 they lost in, and they won in 7. I did stand up across town when the night they lost. Some people were in my crowd listening to the game on the radio, and then they lost. So that was a tough.
And they're serious fans.
Yeah, they were.
They really are. I'm not sure if the Rangers fans are as rabid as a group.
They are. Yeah, man. In '94, even though I'm not a big hockey guy, I always said to my buddies who are hockey fans, if the Rangers ever win at the Garden, I am going.
Yeah, they're fans.
Just to hang outside the Garden.
Great fans.
I was at the Wakamba Lounge on 8th Ave and West 37th Street in '94. And I watched the game on TV there and walked outside and was part of the celebration outside the Garden.
I was lucky enough to go to Game 1. I remember Pavel Bure, the Russian Rocket, because they played Vancouver, right? He was number 10, right? I just remember, but after spending a lot of time in Boston, we had access to Bruins games because they played in the same building. We could just park in the same places. We knew the ushers.
Yeah.
So we really didn't need tickets or anything. We could just go and they'd find an empty seat. Nothing like Hockey Live.
Oh, yeah.
Like
playoff hockey live.
That
we used to go to Flyers. We used to go to Flyers games when they're in the playoffs.
Right.
Man, it was amazing.
And the original 6 teams, Boston, Chicago, Rangers, Detroit.
Going to a Flyers-Boston game, a Flyers-Boston hockey game is basically like being at a drunken Klan meeting. That's right. That's called.
I'll tell you what, we sat next to a mom with 4 boys, and they were up against the glass. And when they were to our right, I'll never forget this picture. And she was just saying, basically, kick him in the goddarn, and then right in front of all 4 of her boys, banging on the glass.
No, that is.
And I'm going, wow, now that's a different kind of.
The Flyers come in Wednesday. The Flyers come into MSG Wednesday. They're separated by 1 point, so the
single greatest thing.
Fans will be.
And it's New York, Philadelphia.
I have told the story on the air. Single greatest thing I've ever seen an a-hole fan do. I'm at a Devils game in Newark. Okay. My uncle took me a couple years ago, and we're 3 rows from the glass. Guy on the other team, who were they? They were playing the Flyers, actually. They're in Philly. Guy in Philly gets checked, and his face is right up against the glass like this. He's smushed against the glass. The kid in the front row had a Sharpie that he had was getting autographs with. This kid had the state of mind. He gets the Sharpie out, and he draws a penis right next to the guy's mouth. The guy smushed into the thing, and he draws a penis next to the guy like this, and the guy's watching him slowly do it. And like as he's doing it, people realize what he's doing. People start going, like it was one of the greatest things. Have you ever seen something that great, Ken?
Can you do that again? The face against the glass look. I like that.
He's like this. And he just sees, what's
How
this guy
long
drawing?
was his face against there?
Where's Pelletier? I hope he's getting this.
Did it seem
15
like
seconds? Wow. The guy had the wherewithal to take out the Sharpie and draw and a pretty good likeness
that
of
is
the penis.
quick thinking.
He's probably got him all over his hallways and his bedroom.
Probably premeditated.
He was actually drawing a hockey stick.
That's what.
Yeah. Hey, was there?
Well, does stuff come out of a hockey stick?
Dan was complaining, vehemently complaining, that the Olympics affected the NHL hockey for his Blackhawks. Do you agree?
I think it goes both ways depending on the player and the team. The Blackhawks had 10 guys go to the Olympics. Detroit had 10. St. Louis had 10. So some teams, representing different countries. So some teams do get affected. They're tired when they get back, and it might affect their play for a couple of games, a couple of weeks. But other guys, it goes the other way. It builds momentum. It gives them energy. Guys who weren't expected to be top players on their teams, who are great in the Olympics, get confidence. Right. Exactly. So I think it could go both ways.
Okay. Yeah, and it's interesting.
But the thing is, they play 5 or 6 games over there, but they're at the top level. They're like all-star games. It's the best players representing their countries. So sometimes it's a letdown when they come back and it's regular season game number 62.
Right. Do you feel like the speed is faster? I mean, does it feel like playoff hockey, like ramped up?
It does. And the other thing, John, it's single elimination. So once you get down to the quarterfinals and then the medal round, the semifinals, and the gold medal game, it's not a best-of-7 series. If you lose, you're out.
Isn't the rink bigger in international hockey?
When the games are played in Europe, it's wider. Right. It is 10 or 15 feet wider.
And how does that affect the game for you? Because that means there's more room to roam.
Right. There's more open space. Some players enjoy it.
Obviously, certain
we're getting deep here now with the hockey question.
And
obviously, certain players and teams have that as an advantage, and others don't.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, some players like the small rink better. Some players are better on the big rink.
Right. Do you think it gets more physical in the Olympics, or is the NHL?
That's a good question.
More physical game?
It might be a little less physical at the Olympics because most of the players are the skill players. Whereas in the NHL, you'll have your first line, your second line, and then your bruisers and grinders. In the Olympics, it's mostly the skilled players, so they're not as physical.
Who's your favorite bruiser of all time? Do you have a favorite?
Favorite bruiser of all time?
Just a guy sent in to protect.
Well, you had your Dave Schultz, of course, in Philadelphia.
He was fun.
Terry O'Reilly in Boston. Nick Fatia with the Rangers.
That's right.
He's a guy who's still around. We see him all the time.
I'm going to throw a name at you, Dave Korn. Remember him on the
Jim, was it Jim Korn? I'm not sure if Dave on the Devils, right?
You're probably right. The Artie Lange. Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. Just a couple more minutes with the great Kenny Albert. Kenny, so so you do mainly hockey?
Well, this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, so what do you go into when hockey's done immediately? Football?
Baseball with Fox on Saturdays.
Oh, you do baseball.
And then football starts
pre-season
up. About 12 or 13 baseball games, and then football starts up in August with preseason.
Yeah, now football is, to me, I don't know, as an announcer, well, here's the thing. As an announcer, I think baseball would be, it's funny, your father never did baseball.
No, a couple of games here and there.
Why is that? He's not a fan?
No, he is. He was an intern, believe it or not, for the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Okay.
In his high school years. His job, one of his jobs, he was 16 years old.
Red Barber?
Red Barber was doing the games, but he had to manually change a scoreboard at Ebbets Field.
No kidding.
When the team played on the road, they had a scoreboard that faced the street, and people would check out the score.
Oh, and he would do that. What a great kid.
He would do that. And then they played.
Did you grow up next to Ebbets Field?
Well, he grew up in Brooklyn. I did not. I grew up on Long Island.
Did he grow up?
Not right there. He grew up in Manhattan Beach, Brighton Beach.
Oh, okay.
My grandfather owned a grocery store in Brighton Beach. But one of his other jobs as a Dodgers intern was to take the tickets. They played 7 or 8 games a year in Jersey City. And he would actually take the tickets from Ebbets Field on the subway to the box office in Jersey City. And he said on occasion he would travel back on the team bus and sit right behind Jackie Robinson.
What a great kid. Yeah. Well, that must have been so exciting for him.
Yeah. Great stuff.
You know what I mean?
You're talking about you with icons.
So he was a big baseball fan, but he was so busy he did basketball, hockey, football, boxing, and also the 6 and 11 o'clock news. So there wasn't you can't do it.
I always said baseball was the one sport.
And Letterman,
and do the year in review.
Oh yeah, those were always great.
They were always good.
Those were always great.
Let me ask you a question. When did you know, at what age, that this is what you want to do? I mean, you grew up around it. Were you the kind of kid that would want to go with your dad to work, or was it the kind of thing like you just through osmosis, just by being around it, you had no choice?
Really both. And I don't want to say I had no choice because I was never told I had to do this or forced to do it, but it was great going to games and traveling to different cities.
How can that not be?
But also so much sunk in via osmosis. But I think from when I was 5, I got a tape recorder for my birthday from my parents and started announcing games into the tape recorder.
That's great.
But I also did some sports writing in high school and college. I did writing as well, but I always knew that broadcasting was the way I wanted to go.
That's odd because we have a lot in common. I was 5 years old when I realized I wanted to do the direct opposite of my father. He climbed roofs for a living, go roofing and cleaning gutters and putting up antennas. I said, I'd like to do something, maybe like Marv Albert, something like him. But so he was. I always wondered, why doesn't Marv Albert do baseball? I thought maybe that's why he was just too busy. He was a great boxing announcer too.
Yeah. He was busy, but he did a baseball pregame show on NBC for a couple of years back in the late 80s when they had the national package. He actually, the Bill Buckner game, he was the post-game host.
Okay.
And Ray Knight was one of the players involved who scored one of the runs.
Yeah.
He actually interviewed Ray Knight in the dugout right after that game, and he had to hold him up because he said Ray Knight was so mentally exhausted and with that he was almost going to fall over. So, and then he also interviewed George Bush when he was in the White House, the elder.
Yeah, no, he was a huge
Bush.
baseball guy.
And we got to tag along. And I have a
Williams
picture in the Oval Office with President Bush.
Too cool.
Awesome.
Stop by any time, Ken.
Will do.
Honestly, please.
I
We love having you. The great Kenny Albert, and we'll be back after this.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.